Save my soul. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. I want to save my soul. Went up downtown. I went up downtown. Went up downtown. I save my soul. I save my soul. I save my soul. I save my soul. Save my soul. Save my soul. Won't you save my soul? Save my soul. Save my soul. Save my soul. Won't you save my soul? Save my soul. Save my soul. Save my soul. Won't you save my soul? Save my soul. 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 Went up downtown. I went up downtown. Went up downtown. I was walking out one evening late.
Headed for the riverside, around us fuss and fry.
All right. Welcome to my live stream today. Let me put my camera on here. Hey, how's everybody doing? Yeah, I'm wearing my overalls again. I like to wear my overalls in the summer when I don't have to go anywhere. It's kind of, I think maybe it's like my lazy clothes outfit when I'm just, I have no school, right? Because a lot of you guys know that I've been going to college. I actually am tutoring now from my home. So, and it's online. So, really all I have to worry about is like what's going on from here up when I'm dressing. Okay, I'm going to change my banner here for a second because I'm probably going to share a few videos. This is not going to be a super long live stream, but I do want to just address a few things about what I've been doing on my channel. Also, kind of talk about some things that I've seen happening on YouTube pertaining to maybe groups or demographics of us that are interested in similar topics and subject matters. Some of the topics that I've been interested in and been talking about on my YouTube channel, they kind of cross over, but not quite. Like, for example, some of the stuff that I've been talking about going on with the 17th letter of the alphabet And that conspiracy also will cross over to the UFO community, because a lot of the people that were part of that, what they so-called the truth media, has crossed over into perpetuating some of those conspiracies. And as a media host on some of those networks, since 2014, I have watched it happen around me. And unfortunately, I have to admit that I've actually been part of perpetuating some of those conspiracies in the past. And I want to talk about how that might make it possible. That's also a reason why I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to college and get a degree in journalism, is because I realized that I had made a mistake. And I also realized that a lot of the things that I was doing, or the type of media that I was involved in, wasn't like comedy, like as I had previously done, or like entertainment. I was doing interviews and things like that. Of course, it was in the conspiratorial world, I guess you could say. Like maybe American Freedom Radio had those kind of shows, or Revolution Radio delved into those types of topics where you can't, you're not going, oh, well, this is, we're having a scientific discussion about something, and this is has been agreed upon as a legitimate scientific theory. You're talking about people that are coming forward and saying that they're disclosing, or they're whistleblowers of, something alien, or something, UFO, or something within like the CIA, or, I'm a whistleblower of something. There's a lot of whistleblowers out there that later on, as you stop being so naive, even as a media host, you start saying, well, this is just a grift. This is not, legitimate. This is maybe even a way of manipulating people, like a false TV evangelist might be doing. And, if they have a nonprofit or something, then every donation they get is going to like a nonprofit. And, when you're in media, right? Like, let's say you are trying to, discover what the truth is, or you're opening your mind to possibilities that aren't just, on the standard, like on the mainstream media. Like right now we have David Grush coming forward. The mainstream media is covering it. He's claiming a few things. He's not really showing the smoking gun, because apparently he doesn't have the legality to do it. So he's asking the Pentagon to take responsibility and research this information. That's pretty much what I'm getting. So as far as the narrative is in the mainstream media about that, we've got I'm rambling off into two different directions, right? But I'm trying to use this as an example. We have like what's happening in Vegas, and that's all kind of like whacking all over the place. And, we can talk about the submarine that was at the Titanic later on, because I want to bring that up too as well. But you have this sort of thing going on. But when we talk about this media, when we talk about the big dogs that were out there, you're looking at Miles Johnston from the Basis Project, Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, right? One of the bigger names. And then you have certain people, and somewhere in there, and I wouldn't say that Stephen is big like Carrie Cassidy is, in terms of like what you would call the wake and aware community, or, the George Norrie group, the coast to coast people, Art Bell, that's even bigger, right? But Carrie kind of, is in that pocket too. Hasn't she been on Coast to Coast? I think David Wilcock definitely has, right? Corey Good, maybe, like all these things where when you listen to this information, it's not like, I don't know. I mean, like there was something that when I interviewed Jerry Avalos last Wednesday, he mentioned that Carrie Cassidy didn't always, like, he knew that maybe some of the information that, let's say, James Casbolt or I'm going to say maybe even Max or anybody else that he's talked, she's interviewing, she might not have believed them totally. I'm just using them as an example, and I can't remember his exact reference. But she found it interesting enough to document whether it was true or not. And I think it's really important to realize that maybe the people who are doing these interviews don't put it on, the responsibility also on that person is like, oh, they totally believe us, until you hear them later on, in which we have heard her say stuff like that, where, she believes that Wano Saban is actually JFK Jr., right? I mean, or that she believes that Wano Saban was actually the 17th letter, right? I'm trying to not talk about the algorithms. This is the part that I don't like about YouTube, is that I have to go 17th letter of the alphabet or go like this or something like that, so that, because the AI or whomever's not going to understand that what text I'm using that word in. It'll just note that I have the word, or the word is said. And that's how dramatic this is. Like, when you can't even say something on YouTube because the AI will pick up the word that you're saying, because it's that much of a scandal. And yet all these people that are, let's say, hi, Jeff. Inmate Mark Richards. Yes, that's another one. She believes in inmate Mark Richards. See, I mean, okay, yeah. Let's talk about that. Did Carrie Cassidy have any type of discernment and say, well, you know what, I really don't. Does she ever come forward and say, I really don't believe everything that Mark Richards says, but I think it's interesting to note. No, what they did is they talked about it as if it was in fact real. And then they went and they did all these, seminars or, Awake and Aware stuff, and had, Joanne Richards speak on behalf of her husband, which she's not married to him anymore, apparently. But to where people believed what was being said. And that will spill over to a lot of people's philosophies of what they think is real, what they think is, evil or good or whatever. I mean, there's one guy, he hasn't really posted for a while, but what's his name? Bruce something. He was featured on Vice as believing in the reptilian theory. And, he quotes, James Rink and Corey Good and, and Captain Mark Richards as if their testimonies of what they're claiming is in fact absolutely true. He's one of those channels that slows down the faces and stuff like that. So you see the eye shifting and whatever, and uses movies. And, he thinks that, helicopters in LA are surrounding him because of him, which I find that hard to believe, because if you live in LA, there's always a helicopter in the sky. And most likely, it's not about you. It's not like you're living that scene in Goodfellas where he's realizing he's getting, arrested and looking at all the helicopters. It's not because of the reptilians are coming. I don't think that's what's going on. But in terms of interpreting this into the Christian religion, even, as if, well, reptilian people are part of the, an evil race. Let's put it that way. I'm trying to also not say that word or use that word in my title either, but it starts with Satanic, right? Which is also part of, I'm doing a lot of hand things today, part of the 17th letter of the alphabet diatribe. In and getting back to Stephen D. Kelley is saying are the types of people that are responsible for what is happening under the Getty. And those people that have that as their religion, Satanic, C, not K, right? Or Aleister Crowley or whatever, that is, what the elite or how the elite are. And then it gets to eating, CANNABILISM. Maybe I spelled that wrong, but I'm just trying not to say, the thing that what's that actor? Armie Hammer was kind of guilty of wanting to do to women. That is which kind of makes his thing interesting. I'm sure you guys know about Armie Hammer. The actor, just look it up. Anyway. Originally, being that I was a part of that media, we weren't talking about that in the beginning. Like in 2014, when I joined it, that was not, the main diatribe of what the UFO media was discussing. They weren't talking about, maybe it was about aliens doing that on bases underground because of Phil Schneider and stuff. Like it was still there a little bit, but it wasn't to the level that happened after the 17th letter of the alphabet drops started happening and stuff. It was like those drops took everything, whether it was like WikiLeaks or anything that happened in the UFO community or whatever, and all those conspiracies were churned out and then politicized to make it look like it was only one party that was responsible for it in the United States. Maybe they talked about Australia. You had Fiona Barnett and all that kind of stuff, right? I'm getting Fiona Apple. Okay. So one thing I wanted, when I say I want to follow up about Stephen D. Kelley today, and I thought about this a lot, how I wanted to say it. So hopefully I'm going to be able to say it like I intend to. But I had a woman respond. I'm assuming it's a woman. I believe it to be a woman. Because like right now I took that bit. I did a video earlier this couple of days ago about how I took my original live stream about Stephen D. Kelley off of YouTube because of the fact that these things are being discussed. And I know that I've had people threaten to take my channel down and things like this. And I think that even though it wouldn't fall underneath of a violation of community guidelines, it still can, simply because you're talking about, or you're showing a video of people talking about those things. And, the video was from Rumble. I mean, Louis Herms obviously did not choose to interview Stephen on YouTube, and, because he has a YouTube channel, but maybe he was thinking that it was safer not to bring it on YouTube. So what I'm going to be doing on my platforms, and I pretty much have already said this, is that I will be having different types of material on different types of media. And one of the places that I'm at is Rumble. So I want to make sure that, you're familiar with my Rumble page. I've got 43 subscribers now. I'm feeling pretty spiffy about that. But, follow me here, because this is going to be a place where you can see video, or I can live stream, and I'll have specific live streams for my Rumble that I will be able to say the F word if I want to, or, speak more candid, be able to say the full names of things, and not have to kind of pussyfoot around like you have to on YouTube. And, it's kind of sad because, in my opinion, and I'm just going to say this, I think YouTube, their community guidelines is more about censorship than it is about actually protecting people from being bullied online. And their ability to step in and stop the bullying is really disappointing. And yet you say one tiny thing that isn't approved by the WHO or somebody, right? Then you are just absolutely, or you question it. You will be censored to no end, and anyway, I'm going to stop on that. But that's my big beef with YouTube. But the problem is that YouTube is I think the second or the third largest search engine out there. So this is if you having, or even be able to speak it on YouTube and then saying, hey, if you want to see some other material from me that may not fly on YouTube, here's where you can see me at, is a lot better than doing it and then not being able to stay on YouTube. It's okay, well, all right, I'll go within the guidelines, but here's where you can see the uncensored show on the topic. But today I should be able to be fine at talking about what I'm talking about, what I want to talk to today, and then I'll tell you if you want a more detailed explanation on these topics. You can find me on the Not My Rabbit Hole. on Rumble. I'll make sure that I'll have that. I'll put that link in the description of this video after I finish live streaming. So I get this comment from somebody, and this is what they wrote. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I'm just going to say what they said. It was the 4th installment on my YouTube channel, and in the 4th installment of the Carrie Cassidy, Stephen D. Kelley brawl, and not my rabbit hole analysis of the Louis Herm interview with Stephen. Stephen pretty much says that, like when Louis Herm says, well, God wins in the end, Stephen goes, thank you, like as if he's God. I don't know if you've seen that clip yet on my channel. Maybe I'll pull it up and play it for you, but here today. But it's like one of my most recent videos, you know, like, and it's titled, Does Stephen D. Kelley Think He's God? Okay, and that was something like, being that I have known Stephen, I knew Stephen for a really long time. And I'm not going to lie, I was actually in a relationship with Stephen. And so, you know, in a way, I almost feel like there's a bit of an embarrassment on my part to tell you that I felt kind of like, I'm not saying that I was like hypnotized or under somebody's spell, but that I was around somebody that, number one, you know, always had to be right. Like whatever you had or any type of like discussion against anything they believed in was clearly wrong. I'm always right. And if you even shared your opinion, he would bash you down for it. And it didn't matter if you were like on a you know, a panel with him, like a round table on Revolution Radio, or, you know, bantering with him on his, you know, when I had a show on Truth Cat Radio, you know, for quite a while. It doesn't matter. And, you know, some of that in a way is sort of like, is that part of like mind and control? Is that part of like somebody who is, you know, put themselves in sort of like a cult leader position? Is that, you know, if you question the program, then, you know, you get ostracized or criticized, or, you know, you're told you're not enough, or you're told there's something wrong with you, or you've got a personal problem or whatever. And the reason why I'm also bringing up this kind of aspect of it is because I'm also, and I'm going to show you that here in a second too, watching this docuseries called The Vow, which it was about NXIVM and Keith Raniere, and how, and it's not, and what I'm realizing, it's not the 17th letter of the alphabet version of who these people were. It's a bit different. And how they made it so that, you know, they were doing, you know, human trafficking, right? Was more of a mind control or a manipulation that happened to these women that were really seeking empowerment, and not just women, but men too, that were seeking to better their lives, to live more fulfilling lives, to accomplish great things, and to be of service to their community. They wanted to do dynamic things that made positive change in the world. That's how, you know, the original philosophy of NXIVM happened. But the leader was, you know, basically he didn't really, it looks like he really had an issue with women, ultimately, in dominating women. And I'm not saying that was, you know, the underlying factor of Stephen, but these people actually really believe that they are Jedi warriors. And what he's been telling them is that, well, first of all, you have to commit for the rest of your life to being a Jedi warrior. And, you know, you'll be doing things in the astral plane, but you won't remember any of it. Now, how perfect is that? Oh yeah, well, you know, because there's no way of denying that you're not a Jedi warrior, because, you know, you're not supposed to remember it anyway. But there's no really way of confirming that you're a Jedi warrior because you can't remember any of it. It's like the perfect foil for somebody to tell somebody. And well, first of all, he basically says it in that interview with Lewis Herms, but he also says here, this is her testimony. I gave up the idea of being a Jedi for SDK because you don't get to remember what happened that night. He said it's too hard for people, but you have to surrender your soul to him. Wait. Because I gave up the idea of being a Jedi for SDK because you don't get to remember what happened at night. He said it's too hard for people, but you have to surrender your soul to him to do the job and just take orders. Now, you have to surrender your soul to him. Really? Like, that's just outrageous to me. That's not like me to just take orders and deal with no memory of what happens. No, and it shouldn't be like anybody. I'm reaching for understanding and I guess control when I think I need or like or something same as anybody else. I found one of his Jedis an insulting ego. If SDK did something wrong, he has Jedis that are questionable. Okay, and that's kind of very much like what happened on the Nexium series, is that when somebody, was criticizing the program, then all of a sudden, they got slammed with, they're having a problem with fear, or they're having a problem with, this particular step in this, in the overall message. I began asking questions and he quickly deleted me on Telegram because another Jedi of his was doing the same blind faith thing and hammering on me. Who are you? We are Occupy the Getty. If you're not a Jedi for SDK, you quickly become a nobody. Join or get out. What does that sound like? That is total cult activity right there. All or nothing, I guess. If there's a slip up, it's the 100,000 children under the Getty. I guess it's an annoying random estimate like putting out dates on events and the events don't happen. He's so smart and good. His personality isn't a leader type, but he's priceless on some things. I disagree with that. I think that he does assume a leader type. He sees himself as a leader. Yeah, I don't think like he absolutely thinks that he should be in charge. Leader types like Trump lately are taking too long concerning where some of us are ready and needy for answers. SDK has a rough and condescending personality. No kidding. Something is happening to him on this interview. Like, again, he don't like debates or too many questions. That's when he quits people, when they get too many questions, because he's not willing to answer the questions. Stephen, like I said, it's Stephen the way he is, and that's it. And if you don't like the way, if you looked at these interviews with Lewis Herms, the way he treated Lewis, like, how dare you not invite me to your truth tour? Why am I not on this? Why don't you know who I am? I am the final authority on everything that is. That was basically Stephen's attitude. SDK was the first to come out that I found so blatant and capable to speak out. I sure appreciated clarification. But my problem is like, well, what did Stephen come and speak out about? Was it anything true? Does he have like anything factual about anything that he's saying? And then he logged on to a movement like the 17th letter of the alphabet. I knew him there. I watched it happen. I know how it went down. And even when I told him I don't believe the 17th letter is true, he said, well, it doesn't matter. We're controlling the narrative. I don't either. He was just using that as a machine to do what he was doing. And at that time, when that all first happened, there were no Jedi warriors like he has now. The Jedi warriors is a new dollop of crap on the Sunday. All right. That's the new sauce over it to shiny it up and make it look like now he has another direction to go into. When that got done, now he's got this. So why does STK get rid of people? Okay. STK was the first to come out. Okay. STK made big the subject of things that I don't want to say here. The thing that Armie Hammer was wanting to do to people with their ribs and vampirism, semi-physical and non-physical predators. So we don't know if there's non-physical predators. This is his diatribe. Like, so why does STK get rid of people? I think he's learning some things as it goes along like anybody else. The ethereal worlds are hard to define. Trump's bringing on the clothes. Okay, and I'm not going to even say these things here. STK is on the trust faith thing. I can guess out of the standard Jesus faith and believe without evidence problem. I mean, that's kind of how she wrote it, but you get the point. So even when I read what she's saying, I still feel that she in some ways is defending him, because I know what it's like. I mean, I thought he was like really smart and brilliant and, you know, had all this information at one time too. And I was really gullible, and I gave him like, you know, like I would think that, you know, whenever he at one time, like he would do some shows and they would be phenomenal. And there's some research that Stephen would be doing on some stuff that it just blew me away. You know, some of his interviews that he did with people from the Ukraine or, you know, Russia and, you know, the Mahmoud Hera in Syria. I mean, some of his stuff in the early days of things where he was covering things that people that were not just in the realm of the conspiracy stuff, that I thought that had some sort of social value. You know, when I was with Stephen when he was going on Press TV, I went and, you know, rode with the driver over to the studio while he did one of the Press TV shows as an ex-CIA NSA contractor. You know, he was on Russia Today at that time. He was really you know, coming out as being an expert on, you know, things that had happened. Shootings that had happened, things that had happened in the public. He was giving his professional take on it. It wasn't until he started talking about WikiLeaks and you know, the DNC and Seth Rich and things like this, and having that opinion, you know, that slant, that they completely nixed him. And I remember the video that he did that got him out of that group of people. Now, you know, Ed Opperman has done a show on Stephen D. Kelley, and I know that not everybody here is a fan of Ed Opperman. But one of the things that Ed Opperman even like pointed out to me was, you know, part of Stephen's claim is that he was a contractor to the CIA and the NSA. That means the reason why he was a contractor was because he sold his guns to them. And then he claims that the guns that he sold, he found out later, were part of the Ollie North administration. And it played out in the Nicaragua Contra affair. And you know, if you read his book, he says, you know, well, it was like this, you know, that I became realizing how many people were being killed by what I was creating. He had this, you know, consciousness or break of consciousness about what he was saying. Didn't want to do that for a living anymore. And now he's saying, well, that's why he's doing it psychically instead as a Jedi, which is a lot more powerful. So even that is part of the Stephen D. Kelley folklore. Am I making sense? I hope I'm because when you talk about this, it sounds freaking crazy. Like, you're like, okay, that has to be a fantasist. Like, how could any of that be true? And then how could and I consider myself to be, I'm getting educated. There's part of me that is a very analytical, logical thinker. I mean, I'm open-minded to things. So I'm thinking, well, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe that's not a possibility. Let me see if this is true or not true. I'm not narrow-minded, in what I think are possibilities. That's why I like being in this media, because I have a curiosity. But I realized that I got taken in myself. And, for me to just sit back and talk about Stephen as if, I'm doing a show like Stephen Cambion is, and, he's analyzing the grifters and this and that. And, just going, well, this, and this is a lie, this is a lie, whatever. I have to realize that I actually at some point was amplifying and also doing videos on the bogus lies that I believed were out there. And if I don't say, and maybe this is what's the most important thing for me to do on my YouTube channel is to be honest about that. I can't just sit back and, always point a finger at everybody else and say, yeah, I'm not guilty of any of that. But what I can say is that probably there's a lot of people like that. There's maybe some of us that did it because we believed it. And maybe we were kind of hooked up into a cult or occult thinking, a cult type of control in the situations that you're in, or that you're susceptible to it, or there's something going on in your life where you're needing something that, having that association gives you a sense of you are at least controlling what you you feel better when you think what's going on in the world than when you're confused about it. So I think a lot of times, people will just log on to something because they need a structure of something so they can feel like the whole world just isn't crazy, And I think sometimes, or like I said, I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone the other day. I guess I didn't say it here, that when I started to watch this kind of media was when at some point in my life, it was there was a crack in the mirror. There was a crack in the reality where I went, wait a second, things aren't exactly how I thought they were. My government isn't serving like I thought it was. Our rights aren't how I thought it was. It kind of started on that level. And then it got to be well, what else is being withheld? And then there's this and then it just starts, you start to realize that sometimes the media that you're watching is, they are biased, and the people that view a certain type of media, they are showing confirmation bias on that media. And even in the mainstream media, everybody's in their own echo chamber loop. And then you watch certain media stations and you realize they cover the same topic, but they frame it to their audience, which might be Republican or liberal, or, you have someone a Joe Rogan or a Russell Brand here on YouTube with the people that are kind of more like us, that are supposed to be seeing things or realize, that there is this, dynamic being played. So for example, the Titanic thing, the submarine with the Titanic, now we find out that on the Sunday before the Thursday that we find out that it was actually imploded, they knew that it had imploded. They knew that it had imploded, or were pretty much the Coast Guard knew that the submarine most likely imploded, but yet the media was going on and on and on. Oh, they only got 48 more hours to have air. We got to find them. We can't locate them. So the media ran this other story that kept everybody hooked, thinking that there were people that were able to be survived, that there was hope. And when they knew on Sunday that it most likely imploded, or that it had imploded. It's that kind of deception in the media that makes me sick. They 100%, they knew it imploded. So we spend all this time glued to the TV or glued to our social media, people praying for, them to be saved. And the whole time they know it imploded. What the hell? What is that? What is that? Shame on you. Shame on you for doing that to us. And so when it really comes down to it, and I think the reason why I wanted to go back to school, the reason why I wanted to take what I was doing seriously was because I'm like, okay, I should have integrity. Like, I should know what I'm doing. I should know like what the ethics are, like what is good reporting, what is all of it. And part of what I'm doing right now is like I'm trying in a way to correct what I might have led people astray on some level. And it's kind of like the whole thing with the docuseries The Vow. It's like the documentary filmmakers that are involved in that, the main guy, Mark Vincente, he did the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? You remember that movie? That was a movie that influenced me. So he got involved with the Nexium cult, was a big dude in it, and then realized that these women were actually being branded and stuff. And, how do you go from, self-empowerment to be willing to brand yourself? And therein lies like the psychological stuff that can happen. I mean, like, you can compare like, a Occupy the Getty to like elements of The Vow. And I think that you can kind of compare personality traits of someone like Stephen D. Kelley to like Keith Raniere, and how you do this, or how this happens, is because you have people that are wanting to have a better life, or they're wanting to understand what's going on, or they're wanting to like one of the biggest demographics of people to be caught up in this, I think, are older women who are between the ages of 40 and up, because, they may have already had their kids go to college, their kids are out of the house, they're in college or whatever. And, and maybe you don't even have any kids. I think a natural inclination for a woman is that a woman wants to protect the children, even if it's not their own. And so when you have these conspiracies that are involve children or women that are victimized or whatever, then our natural inclination is to go, oh my God, that's horrible. And because you're kind of like in a way traumatized by taking in that information, you're more likely to believe it and then to get involved in what you think taking action is against it. Wasn't even capable of 96 hours of air. You're doing a great service. Found you through Stephen C. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you found me through Stephen C. Stephen Cambion has been very supportive of my channel, and he helped me get over that 1,000 mark point. So if you subscribe me from that, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to be talking more. Like I want to have Stephen on and give me his take about David Grush, but he's been really busy right now. But I'm also thinking maybe of Anthony from S4. Might want to, or Ben J. Porter. I'd like to have him on and talk about his take as well. And I want to keep, because that's a continual topic. But yeah, I mean, I almost feel like I'm obligated to talk about SDK, Stephen D. Kelley. And especially now, I mean, it was like that. Yeah, it was fun to watch Stephen D. Kelley and Carrie go at each other, right? I mean, drama's fun in many ways. I mean, and I say that, like, not like I want to perpetuate it. Like I've been wanting to be the Jerry Springer of YouTube on people. But I think that when you, because of the fact that we think that both of them are just full of it, and then to see two full of it, two liars going after each other and then telling the other person that they're lying is, quite satisfying to watch. or even comical. And I'll make sure to I haven't uploaded the whole feud, I'll make sure that I do that. But it's more about I'm going to talk more about him because I have a lot more information than what I wanted to cover today. But I basically wanted to show this one woman's comment on that. And then also give you a little bit more information. I feel that it's important for me to tell you that I also participated in this. I also believed in it. I didn't become a Jedi warrior. I didn't go to the Jedi warrior thing. That was just kind of going on around, he would talk about it with me and whatever, but I never said, hey, Stevie, can I be a Jedi warrior? Because I'm not going to give him my entire life commitment to be a Jedi warrior. And I'm not definitely am I giving Stephen D. Kelley my soul. Okay. That is not happening. And I will say this. And I knew something was off when he said it to me. But he basically told me that he believed that he was this. I made a joke one time on Facebook. It was really based on him. And I said, I forgot what the punchline was, but it was something like, my boyfriend just said that he was the second coming of Christ. I'm still laughing about it. I'm like, God, I hope not. And then the punchline was pretty crude. Because I would hope that Jesus wouldn't want to do blank to me. But it was how could that not be a premise for a joke? How could you even say that to somebody and say that I'm the second coming of Jesus Christ? How could you? That's just mind blowing to me. What dot underscore? Are you saying that it's not unrelatable? That saying that somebody I was in a relationship with somebody who had a God complex is not relatable. It's bizarre, right? It's oh hell no. It's it's almost it's almost as bad as him saying I'm still living with my mother. It's I'm still living with my mother, and I am the second coming of Jesus Christ. And he still wouldn't make a commitment. No, I'm joking about that part, but it's like the Nexium thing. Matter of fact, I think what I want to do is I want to show you. Yeah, it sounds very Charlie Manson-esque. It can, right? I mean, that's the scary part of it. I'm almost wanting to, what is it about humans or us that, we think we would even get caught up with that we would even put up with that? Why didn't I just, when he said that to me, and I was in the same room with him when he said it, when I was at his house, why didn't I just go, I'm sorry, I'm out of here. I should have just picked up my stuff and went, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm out. Because, but I will say this, when I finally did leave that relationship, the last thing that I did say to him or write to him, and it was on Skype, is I said, your biggest growth as a human being is when you realize you're not Jesus Christ. And that is the last thing that I've said to him. And that's why I find it so ironic that he is, saying that he believes that he, well, let me show you. Let's do this. If you haven't seen this yet on my channel, you just got to watch this. And it's only it's like a minute and 30 seconds. So let me pull up this here and go to my oh, by the way, I'm also also live streaming simultaneously on Twitter. So hi everybody out there on Twitter, if you're watching this. Kind of weird, but sometimes I get more views on Twitter than I do on YouTube, which is sort of blowing my mind on certain subjects. Okay, so it's in my videos. And, oh, here it is. Yeah. All right, here we go. I am going to share here. Let's go here. Hold on.
I have a much better outlook than you do, and I believe God wins this. I actually already think God won it.
You're welcome.
And it's just why are you God? Is that why you said you're welcome?
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Did you see that? He said, "I think God wins," and Stephen D. Kelley said, "You're welcome," as if he's God. And now he's going to like watch this. This is the part that I think it's worth like for me to keep going for 3 hours. This is the icing on the cake. This is the cherry on the sundae. All right.
Okay, so I said
That's my offer.
God wins, and you said thank you. Are you
You're
God?
welcome. You're right. No, don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm asking you the question because you said thank you
You
when
know
I
what?
said that.
The enemy isn't afraid of you, and they're not afraid of the prayers. They're not afraid of anybody. But you know what they are afraid of? They're afraid of me, and they already know I won. They already know I win. And all they can do is try to slow down the process. And that's what you're doing right now, is slowing down the process.
Even if you won, why is it so important for you to be on stage in San Diego with us?
So
Okay, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's kind of like a little promo, like to advertise, you know, that I was re-airing or restreaming this on my Rumble. And again, that the whole interview is in 4 parts now on Rumble. It's no longer on YouTube at the moment. So, but it originally aired here. So _, what's happening, Dot? For good or bad, LOL, I've said that if I was ever pregnant, it's the second coming of Christ because of health issues, but I'm joking. Oh, it would be a miracle. You know, I found interesting because I tutor biology, anthropology. That's my part-time job. And, you know, I'm going over material again, and just how science is like in the book I'm reading, it says we're working on, you know, the scientific method and using science to determine biology, but then there's also spirituality and miracles that happen, but not saying that those don't exist, or that's not, but it's not the science that we are covering here. And I thought that's a really interesting way of saying it. Like, even the people that theorize, you know, the, like, let's say Charles Darwin, right? The natural selection. Now, even Charles Darwin kind of leaves it open, you know, it's not just cut and dry. I think one of the anthropologists of the time went into trying to incorporate more intelligent design into the, you know, theory of evolution. But anyway, it's just interesting to see how science treats, you know, the supernatural. Or as a student, you can go in and go, well, I can study this aspect of biology and anthropology and, you know, science and archaeology and all this kind of stuff, the remains and the DNA and blah, 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 right? But it's still just, it's out there, but it can always change based on new evidence. So science is always growing, but it also doesn't completely discredit the fact that even miracles, or even there could still be a God, or there could be still a super designer of the universe or universes or whatever, because we still don't really know exactly what's happening. And I think that that's part of the reason why a lot of us are attracted to this kind of media. And maybe that's the reason why, like, we have a Stephen Cambion who is passionate about picking these people apart and pointing out who the phony is, or what might not be the truth in all of this. And in a way, I think I started in this media that way. I started in like being more of a believer, or not having like a whole lot of discernment, or, just taking the words, because, Stephen can be very well spoken, and he's not a bad speaker. He can get up in front of people and speak, or he did like the Toastmasters, and that he has a way of being an influencer, or making people believe something. Like, one of the things Louis Herm said was like, "Oh, you're so passionate about what you're talking about." Well, yeah, sometimes passion, people feel the emotion, but they're not really rationalizing about what a person is actually really saying. So I think that it's important to be able to do that. Okay, so another thing that I thought was interesting to share with you, and this isn't on the topic of Stephen D. Kelley. This is actually about Beth Bogarts appearing on Jesse Davis's and Paula Davis's Sewertown stream yesterday. And if you guys don't know, I mean, like, not everybody that listens to my channel, let's say about Stephen D. Kelley, is going to be familiar with who Beth is, and why should I even bring it up or bring it to you to your attention? Well, the reason why it might be interesting for you to listen to her interview, or maybe you do know about it, is that when okay, I'm just kind of like showing the video here a little bit, and I'm probably going to do a more extensive show on this. This show's mainly for me to just kind of update you guys, and then just quickly talk about a few topics. But Beth was involved, and when we were talking about the maybe I don't have to share it quite yet. When we were talking about the 17th letter of the alphabet and the players that were involved in that, let's go back to that Daily Beast article that talks about Ed Butowski and Seth Rich and all that kind of stuff, and the company Shadowbox, right? There's a mention of Shadowbox and all of that, right? DeFango, all of them. Okay, so Beth used to own half of the trademark for the Cicada 3301 puzzle. The other half is owned still by Michael Levine, who is a composer that they say does compose songs with Thomas Schoenberger that are a part of the music for the Cicada 3301 puzzles. Currently, a person named Marcus Wanner is the owner of the other second half of the Cicada puzzle. Marcus was allegedly was the first winner, or was the winner on the first puzzle, or solved the first puzzle. And Beth gave it to him because she felt that it would be in good hands, and that, because a lot of things have happened, like what Cicada 3301 might have been originally back in 2011 or 2012 when it first came out, it has a different push to it than what it is today. And there's a real strong argument, not just by some of the people that are involved with Jesse Davis, or what they're saying, or people that have been involved with Thomas, but there is this possibility that the puzzle was actually game jacked by Thomas Schoenberger in around maybe 2015. And I got that information from a TED Talk live stream on YouTube that features a guy named Jim Stewartson. And they go into detail about how this happened and how the puzzle changed at that point. Now, this Thomas Schoenberger person, and I'm talking about this as if you don't know what I'm talking about, because you might not know what may have never heard of this before. I always realize that whomever's listening to me may not be from this exact pocket. But Thomas Schoenberger, a lot of people are claiming that a network of people associated with him engaged in cyber harassment and cyber targeting of them on YouTube and on the internet. And I'm saying I'm one of those people, because that's what's been happening to me since last November. And so, and it's a big hodgepodge. Now, Beth actually won a lawsuit against Thomas Schoenberger. He's not even supposed to get near her. And one of the reasons why she's moved out of the country was because the harassment that she experienced in her personal life. It's weird. Like, everybody wanted, like, I'm down to like 3 viewers right now. It's like everybody wanted to listen to about SDK, but when I start talking about this, they're like, oh, we're going to tune out. But there's probably going to be some people, trust me, that are going to be more interested in this part of the broadcast. Anyways, Beth came out. She's been silent for a really long time, and she said a lot on Jesse's show about how this is done, what has happened to her, and how the trolling continues. Yeah, thank you for hanging in there. Yeah, okay. So Beth's kind of been at the helm of all of this, because when I was being white knighted by the Thomas Schoenberger Cicada 3301 group, they were telling me that Beth was CIA, and that when everything, hi, good to see you here. Glad you're sticking around. They were telling me that, Beth was, this evil, awful person. Even when I did my interview with the Cicada 3301 group of people, Marsha Stockton, Mindy Waits, and Titus Frost, that's also on my Rumble. They were, making it look like Beth was giving people, was manipulating people by giving them computers and stuff like this. That never happened. None of that. That's all kind of a conspiracy. She wanted to give, I believe, this is to my understanding, she gave the other half of the trademark to Marcus Wenner to protect the puzzle almost. See, and this is where I might get in trouble. The puzzle today has a Cicada token connected to it. It's like an Ethereum coin. And the new puzzles are making it so that you can win some of this coin. And when I did that interview with Marsha Stockton and everything, Marsha said that they were giving a portion of that coin to Ukrainian refugees. And to this date, I cannot really confirm exactly if that, in fact, is a legitimate thing. Because the graphic that they have on a blog site that I'm not going to mention, because I think even mentioned it on YouTube, he tries to give you a copyright strike for it. But there's a blog of somebody that's part of the blockchain. Matter of fact, he's a blockchain expert on the Cicada 3301 team. I don't know if that's his title, but if you find him on LinkedIn or you look at his Facebook page, you realize that is his background. He has a blog where he published this document that looks like a letter from the Knights of Malta. They're basically saying that they're giving this cryptocurrency to the Polish Knights of Malta, and there's errors on it. Like, doctor doesn't have a period. There's a confusion of the name. You try to email it, and it doesn't. It's like a dead email. So there's things that you're like, okay, is this real? Because they've used that as part of, and again, I welcome, this person that I'm referring to that's been kind of a bully to me. Let's just say it, Chris McGimsey Jones. I welcome you to come on my live stream on Not My Rabbit Hole and actually confirm the legitimacy of the fact that you're actually donating a portion of the cryptocurrency to the Polish Knights of Malta. Show me a real document. I also invite you to come on and show the actual LLC. There's a new LLC called something like Cicada 3301 Metaverse. I can't find it as a legitimate LLC. I only see it listed on Wikipedia, which that is not a confirmation of an actual LLC. And to my understanding, if you're doing gaming, which is gaming, which the original the trademark covers gaming and of the puzzles. If you're doing the puzzles, you can't get an LLC for that unless you have permission from Marcus Wanner. And to my knowledge, Marcus Wanner has not given that permission. So it looks like either they're operating without an official LLC or even the entire trademark to do something like that. And I'm finding that their document with the Polish Knights of Malta do not add up. And I've done a video on this. I haven't done all of it, but I've definitely showed that document on that website of the Polish Knights of Malta, and it doesn't add up. And so I'm saying, and all I'm saying here is that I'm questioning the ethics of this. And part of the reason why I think I'm being attacked so hard by these people that are being orchestrated by Thomas Schoenberger is because about this. Because I started talking about this on my Rumble. It was one of the first videos I did on Rumble. The second video I think I uploaded on Rumble was this. And it was December of last year when I was on Christmas break. So when you're ready to contact me and show these documents so that we can be clarified that the business is legitimate and that you're working with both sides of the trademark, then maybe I will stop saying that I'm questioning it. Then I will know the facts that is in fact true. So Beth is connected to all of this. And because I guess Beth didn't, wasn't, when I've seen like graphics of Beth calling them out that the cicada puzzle was never meant to be part of the 17th letter of the alphabet. And she did not like the fact that it was being used that way. And yet they, on their side, had made her the bad guy as if that was her. And she finally came out and told her side of the story on Jesse's show. And if you're interested in hearing that, even if you are not, you don't know the, you don't know the background or what the who, why, when, and where and why is secondary into her explanation of what targeted harassment and the type of gang stalking and cyberbullying that this group is doing to people. And, or even if it's not just this group, you can still even see how it's done on the internet, because I think it's a perfect example. What I find interesting about that particular live stream is that it's called Special Star Sunday, is that some of the key players that are usually commenting in Jesse's chat were fairly quiet, which I thought was interesting, or they didn't show up at all. And I'm going to name some names. There's some people who know who I'm talking about. Some people won't, but whatever. It's still going to be out there for those who do. Angela G showed up briefly. Tretch showed up briefly. Aiken Drum did a lot of commenting and stating he was actually a moderator. But once they made their initial appearances and said a couple of things, they seemed to not say anything else in the chat, which I thought was interesting because they're usually a lot more active than that. People that didn't show up at all would have been Tacos, Cats, and Cults, which I found to be interesting. And I would have thought that maybe she would have even covered it, but but they're almost acting like it didn't happen. And there was also no Clovis. And I thought that was interesting as well. And that's what I'm going to say about it. I mean, you would think that those people would have been part of it, but they weren't. And I don't know if that means anything. But also, I can't say that it doesn't mean anything. I think that maybe there's been some pockets of people that have been associated with the drama that they talk about on Sewer Town may not actually be specifically associated to, let's say, what happened with Thomas Schoenberger, like Jesse and Pavana Davis have, or like Beth Bogarts has. That their drama is maybe encompasses something else. Or I also, and I still believe that a lot of these people are part of the hive where they play both sides. They're part of the drama. They're sometimes they'll pretend to be your friend, or you'll think that they're your ally against somebody else that's coming against you, but they're really there to just scrape information off of you, and then they'll turn on you, and then it goes back and forth and everything like that. But that's a whole nother story. So another thing that I think is interesting, and I want to bring up, is about Nathan Stoltman, Lift the Veil. And if you guys may have been familiar with him, Nathan was really pivotal in putting Isaac Cappy on the scene for the first time. And has, and I believe that how it's said, or how the people, what I've been told is that Thomas Schoenberger set up this interview with Nathan Stoltman. And the reason why I was looking at Lift the Veil again was because somebody said that he had been arrested with drugs, and that he was now more of a target to Thomas Schoenberger for some reason. And I haven't really been able to verify that yet, because I've only watched like a few videos. But a video that I did think was interesting, a live stream that I did think was interesting, was, and I'm going to find it right here, was this one titled, can you see that? I want to make sure you can see it. Okay. The title is Ascension Talk with a Jedi. And so I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I'm probably going to, I'm wondering if it's associated to Stephen, but the fact that it's a Jedi thing really just stuck out to me, and one of the things that I also want to point out about people that are associated to this media, let me try to get it smaller here. Ascension. Okay, so Ascension Talk with a Jedi. First of all, Ascension is part of the New Age philosophy that comes within this UFO community that has been propagated through people like David Wilcock, Corey Good, and others. All right. And then now you've added the Jedi aspect, which is part of like the movies, all right, and Star Wars. So Jedi is part of a story about that belongs to Star Wars. But you see how this media has adopted this as our reality, or as as being real. Same thing with the Matrix. Same thing with going down the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole is Lewis Carroll, all right, which was used by the Wachowski sisters, all right, and became part of the Matrix. And now it's been written like even the movie What the Bleep Do You Know was also used the word going down the rabbit hole. It's part of our lingo in going down and it's getting bizarre. We know what it means. So here we have Ascension Talk with a Jedi on Nathan Stoltman. And you know what? I'm thinking Nathan Stoltman overall is looking a little bit disheveled. And I'm going to kind of, play some of how that is right now. First of all, he's not getting the views that he used to, because, I guess we're in a different time, but I just kind of want to show you this part here.
Birdies are completely insane.
Here, let's go to here.
The simulate. We're in a very complex on Twitter. Wearing one of our cool T-shirts. I don't even think this is for sale anymore. This might be the future. It's do you want me to tell you the date? Now, maybe I'll won't tell you the date. You just listen to the news, figure it out. We'll see if anybody joins. This could be a very interesting stream. Thanks, Nelson. Nelson, you use a period after your name. That's an interesting code.
So I don't know. It seems like, I mean, I do videos sitting like, like one of my videos, I was sitting out, at the pool or whatever. Like you change your location because like, it's kind of good to like change your background once in a while to pop it different or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like he's not as, okay. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I mean, the whole Jedi thing. So anyway, I just wanted to share these things with you guys. I'm and it's not meant to be a super long show. I'm going to do another follow-up on, excuse me. I'm going to do another follow-up on Aaron McCullen, Super Soldier Aaron McCullum. There's another video. And then I had a woman reach out to me on Twitter, and she said that she worked on some mission with him. And I'm going to try to see if I can find her and get her to come on the show. She's claiming that he wrote a book, but I kind of don't think it is him. So I want to like research that a little bit. But stay tuned. I'll probably be live streaming a more put together, bigger show. This is kind of like a little bit of an update on things. Anyways, thank you for everybody who did come in. _. What was that? Darn it. My allergies. And Jeff came in the chat. And you know what? If you want to participate in the chat, a lot of my live streams now, you have to be a subscriber for at least 5 minutes. If you do like my channel, give me a like and share, or a thumbs up, so I can get more out in the algorithms. If you do want to contribute to Not My Rabbit Hole, the media that I'm doing not only here but on other platforms, this is where you can find me, or where you can donate. And thank you so much for your support and my channel. And I do super chats, or if you see a video, you go, I like this video, I'm going to give her a little money. It's always appreciated. You want to buy me a cup of coffee or whatever, help me get some cat food. It's all welcome. And I do thank you for tuning in and being one of my subscribers. And I'm looking forward to giving you more content that would be more personal to you if you wanted to do a membership or something like that. But I haven't really gotten all those details yet. But by the end of the summer, I will have them worked out. Until then, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and that you have a great week coming up. So I will go ahead and play some music out. I can only imagine what Steven's he may not be saying anything about me. He might just be ignoring, because that's another thing he does. He goes, he'll go, just ignore them. Just ignore them. You don't have to comment anything. Maybe he's going to just completely ignore me, and that's fine. But I mean, he already has said something. Like he tries to tell people, because again, it's like being in the cult, right? It's like the Keith Rainier thing. Being in NXIVM, like when somebody started to question the program, then all of a sudden they were a bad person, or they were, not able to assimilate the goal or the next level or something like that. They failed, basically. It's kind of the same thing with Stephen. When you talk out against Stephen D. Kelley, like when I was saying, hey, there's no children underneath the Getty Museum, this is a complete LARP. And one of the reasons, and I was tweeting it, because DeFango was sharing the Stephen D. Kelley stuff. DeFango was sharing it on his Twitter. DeFango was perpetuating Stephen D. Kelley's LARP. And just of recent, like I noticed it back in December. And when I started like tweeting back about this or saying things about Stephen, well, then he went and told people that, you know, I'm now a Satanist. I'm now on the dark side. I don't care about the children that are apparently underneath the Getty. No, I care about children. I care about them so much that I think that people like him that's doing what they're doing is doing a disservice to the real children that are suffering like that. Like, you're distracting people, making them think that they're Jedis, and they don't even remember. They're in their sleep, like fighting, gave their souls to you, gave a commitment to be a Jedi for the rest of their lives. And when they wake up, they don't even know what they did. The whole thing's stupid. That's what I think. I think the whole gig is up. But because I say that, he has told people that I banged Sean David Morton on an altar beneath the Getty. Now, ain't that some juicy shit? Okay, I'm going to say, hi, tinfoil hatter. If he's the one guy that can save us, we better respect his authoritarian right. They, Steve-O. No, he's no. I no. Why should we? Why should we? Yeah, apparently, you know, if DeFango could have cut it as a comedian, then maybe he wouldn't be like LARPing like he is. That's all I gotta say about. I think DeFango actually might have some comedic abilities, but he's pretty much wasted on being a phony LARPer. Yeah, I'm not a fan of DeFangos. I'm not a fan of all of DeFangos. Not at all. And that's just the way it's going to have to be. Anyways, ciao for now. I'm going to... And you know what? Aren't we tired of authoritarian people? Like, should we, like, really go, oh, okay, so I'm going to buckle to your authoritarian lies. No, it's not happening with me. I'm not that kind of a woman. See you guys later.
Save my soul. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. Went up downtown. I'm gonna save my soul. Save my soul. save my soul. Up, save it, save my soul. Went up downtown. I went up downtown. Went up downtown. I was walking out one evening late.
Moon was rising high, headed for the riverside around this fuss and fight.